Hello YouTube, Chris Klein here with Alma Music Center in San Antonio, Texas. And today we're going to take a look at the Korg Volca Modular. Now for those of you that are already familiar with the Volca series, you can see here that this unit has the same form factor as the other units, the Beats, the Bass, FM, Sample, and so on. There's quite a few in the family now. They're a lot of fun, really easy to integrate with each other. But this one here, this is a special little unit. It was just introduced this year at NAMM, and it's called the Volca Modular because, in a sense, it's modular. You have a bunch of patch points that you can get in and out of, so you can manipulate the electronics of the synthesizer. Now, this is a monophonic synthesizer, but you can tweak the heck out of it. And like other Volcas, it also has a built-in sequencer with a lot of functionality. And the sequencer can even be tweaked via the modular aspect of it or the ins and outs that exist on this unit. Now we're not going to get really deep into the patching because it might be a little more advanced for some people. I'm not saying that I'm not going to cover it in the future. I will cover more advanced patching. But today we're just going to discuss the layout and make a couple of simple patches so you can get an idea of how this thing works. Now, this is based off of the West Coast style of synthesis, and for those of you that aren't familiar with West Coast synthesis, you might want to look into an album by Morton Subotnick called Silver Apples of the Moon. It's really, really cool. It was composed on a Buchla synthesizer, and that might give you an idea of what this thing here, this amazing little device, is emulating. Cool? So again, it's laid out like other Volcas, and we have our source oscillator. Now if I play a note, or a series of notes, you will notice that it's a fairly simple sound. It's kind of somewhere in between a sine and a triangle or a sawtooth. Okay. Now, the difference with this and other types of, if we're going to talk about synthesis in general, is that this is additive, while other synthesizers, most other synthesizers are subtractive. So with this, instead of taking away to build a more rich or more robust waveform or get a richer sound of our oscillator, what we can do is we can feed the oscillator back on itself with this little knob right here that says fold, and I'll demonstrate for you. So we're just folding the oscillator back on itself, right? Pretty simple. Now with the mod, the modulation knob is going to be informed by the ratio knob. Now, as you can hear, we're dealing with octaves at this point. But as I adjust the ratio knob, you will notice that the harmonic content and the interval will change. And now we're 1 for 1. Now we're 4 for 1, as opposed to 1 to 4. And as we increase the modulation up, you'll notice that we'll start to hear more of that harmonic. Now if I increase the foldback, it's going to change even more. So it's easy to get really, really cool sounds really, really quickly with this device. Let's return it back to its normal state. It's pretty tame once again. Now we also have some aspects of the Volca Modular that are already incorporated into the signal path without us making any patches. For instance, we have our attack and release. Let's turn the release all the way down. A little more. All the way. And let's bring our attack up. Bring the release back up. So as you can tell, every time I press and release a key, the attack and release gate is going to re-trigger. If I keep my finger on the key bed and move it around, it ties the notes together. It doesn't re-trigger that gate. Now we also have a cutoff gate. Now this isn't a resonant type of filter like you would have on a like on a Moog or an SH-101 or an Arturia matrix brute or anything like that. This is just a cutoff filter. It's a low pass cutoff filter, and as you can tell, you don't have that resonance associated with it. It's not a peaking type of filter. But when we start adding more harmonics, you can really hear it start to work. So at that point, you're really manipulating the harmonic content of the oscillator. Really cool device. Now, another thing they've offered on here, let's go ahead and I'm going to make sure I have this other function down too. Let's bring our release up. We have built-in effect. And if you listen carefully, it's a delay and a reverb. There's a little pre-delay there. And you can actually hear it when I'm sweeping up and down the keyboard. You can really hear that little delay kind of poke out there. We can bring it all the way up. And then we start getting into 60s sci-fi soundtracks and whatnot. Very, very cool. I'm going to bring this all the way back. Let's take a look at the sequencer. Now, I already have something programmed in, so I'm going to press play. Pretty cool. And now we can start manipulating some of the other parameters. And let's bring our space up. Now, like the other Volcas, it's really easy to manipulate the sequencer. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stop it. Now, one of the things we can do really, really quickly if we want to change the key or the scale of the sequencer is this. So we press function, we'll press scale, and then we'll change our scale to major. Function again and press play. And you will notice that the pattern has changed a little bit. Now let's go back here, scale, and we can change our scale as the sequence is playing back. So Lydian, Exotic 1, Exotic 2, Japanese, pentatonic, reverse, now we can also randomize so I'm going to press function and note. And I'm going to press bounce now for our mode, which plays it forwards, backwards, forwards, and backwards. Now you might be wondering, what's the easiest way to record? And it's pretty simple. If we hold down function and press the record button, now we're in step record. And all we have to do is press some notes. I'll press function again. We'll press play. Pretty cool, very powerful, very, very powerful. Now, the best thing about this device is probably its price point. It falls right under $200, and it gives you so much in this small package. Now, again, with it being the Volca series, well, we also have the sync in and out, so we can easily plug this in and out of other Volca units, where this could be our master, or other, like maybe the Volca Beats or the Volca Drum could be the master, and this will sync to that. And now you're creating all kinds of funky, spacey, modular beats on the fly, and with great, great ease. And we're actually going to do that in another video, but today we're just looking at this. Now, with all the patch points that are on here, it's really easy to get lost in that world really quickly and create really, really strange sounds. But we're only going to do a couple of things today, right? And one of the things I'm going to do is we're actually going to take this function right here, which isn't tied to anything, and we're going to feed it over here to our oscillator and the foldback or the oscillator feedback knob. I like to call it feedback. Foldback is more of a British term, which is great, but that's what you're doing with this knob. Is you're just taking the output of the oscillator and you're bringing it back in to itself, so you get these crazy harmonics. So what I'm going to do is really simple, right? Now, if you look at these different patch points, they're kind of color-coded in a way. So whenever you see the blue, that usually means that that's an output of some kind. And if you see an outline, and then you just see the base of the plate, or the silver color, or this, it's kind of silver, that usually means that it's an input, right? Now, sometimes you'll see this square wave or pulse wave, and what that is telling you is that it's the end of a cycle and the beginning, or it's an end trigger and an on trigger. So with this, we can create basically an LFO type of loop by coming out of the out trigger and going into the end trigger. So when this cycles, this fires, setting up a loop, right? Now, what we want to do is we want to take the output of this circuit right here, and we're going to bring it into the foldback input. Now, I know that these are pretty small, but just trust me, that's what I'm doing. So I'm coming out of the positive out, going into the foldback, and as you can see, the foldback is now blipping, right? You see that, how it's pulsating? And it's being governed by this circuit here, right? So check it out. Let's go ahead and play our sequence back. easy to get lost in this. Very cool. And that's a very simple patch there. So basically what we did, again, is we created an LFO of sorts using this circuit, and then we fed the output of this circuit into the input of the foldback knob, or the foldback circuit, which then started to modulate this circuit. Then we can bring up our space circuit. Bring the release down, bring the space circuit back. Bring our release back up. Now I'm going to add one more thing to this. Now if you see this circuit that says woggle, it's kind of like a sample and hold. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the output of the woggle and I'm going to plug it into the input of our tempo, or our clock. So now you can hear the tempos going all over the place. And let it go back to its resting state. Pretty cool. Now we will jump back in at a later date and discuss more advanced routing and patching on here. But there is a quick little primer there on how that works. And you can get a lot deeper. And this comes with a lot of patch cables too, so you can go really, really crazy with this. As well as you have a CV in. So you could take, if you have a bigger modular rig or anything that's spitting CV out, you can plug that into here as well. And you can control the voltage coming into this unit for even more fun. All right, so that's it for this introduction to the Korg Volca Modular. Again, lots of technology packed in here, super flexible, tons of fun. I've spent a lot of time with it already. I haven't even touched the surface. Like any modular setup, every time you sit down, it's probably going to be a new experience, because all you do is make a couple of weird patches, even on chance, and you move a couple of knobs and you can get the greatest, craziest, strangest sounds. I think the real trick is to remembering, well, how did I get to that one point, that one day? Because that was pretty special. So then you got to write things down. Now, for those of you that don't really understand the modular world, Korg did pack this modular reference, which I'm going to slide in here real fast, which is pretty nice. So you've got this right here, and it tells you where all the ins and outs are. And then you have some basic patches as well, and there's also no shortage of videos and other content online that can show you how to manipulate this even more. And again, I'm going to come back and show you how to do that a little more at a later date. And like other Volca units, this also comes with your Volca patch cable, one of these balanced mini cables, and it comes with 6 AA batteries. Now, most of us that have played around in the Volca world a lot know that these can shoot through batteries pretty quickly. So as you can see here, I have a trusty wall wart plugged into mine, and I also have it labeled because I'm a big nerd. But you know, again, lots of fun. I can't stress it enough. If you haven't played with one yet, go to your local music store or come and see us in San Antonio. We'll let you get your hands on one. And I think I'm going to end it right here. Again, I'm Chris Klein with Alma Music in San Antonio. If you have any questions or comments, you can, of course, comment below, leave questions, and we'll try to get to them as soon as we can, or you can always call us and send us an email. All that information, of course, is here on our YouTube page. And until next time, I'm Chris Klein. See you again. Happy programming. Bye-bye.